Have you ever wondered how something as sweet as molasses could cause one of the most bizarre disasters in history? It may seem far-fetched, but that's exactly what happened in Boston, back in the early 20th century. The city was thriving, a hub of industry, bolstered in part by the molasses trade. But among the hustle and bustle of the city, a silent giant was rising, a massive molasses storage tank standing tall amidst Boston's North End. Little did anyone know, this sweet-smelling behemoth was a disaster waiting to happen. Its walls were straining, holding back a sticky tsunami that, once released, would wreak havoc on the city. This was the Great Molasses Flood, a tragedy that combined an everyday commodity with a shocking lack of foresight. A disaster that would change the city of Boston forever. The year was 1919. Boston was booming, and molasses was a key player in the city's growth. This sweet, sticky substance was more than just a culinary delight. It served as a fundamental ingredient in the production of industrial alcohol, a crucial component for manufacturing munitions. As World War I raged on across the Atlantic, the demand for molasses skyrocketed, prompting the construction of a colossal molasses tank right in the heart of Boston. This enormous structure towered over the cityscape, a symbol of Boston's industrial prowess and economic prosperity. But beneath the shiny exterior of this giant silo, a darker reality was taking shape. The tank, hastily built and poorly maintained, was showing signs of weakness. Cracks were appearing, leaks were forming, and the sweet smell of molasses permeated the air. Little did the city know, a time bomb was ticking beneath the surface. On January 15th, 1919, the unthinkable happened. A regular winter day in Boston was about to unravel into a scene of unimaginable destruction. The massive molasses tank that had become a familiar sight in the city's skyline, a silent testament to the city's booming industry, suddenly and violently ruptured. The tank, filled to the brim with over 2 million gallons of molasses, could no longer contain its sweet burden. Like a ticking time bomb, the pressure had been building, and on that fateful day, it reached its devastating climax. The tank's walls gave way, and in a blink of an eye, the city was inundated with a tidal wave of molasses. The wave, reaching a height of 25 feet and traveling at 35 miles per hour, crashed through the city streets with an unstoppable force. It engulfed everything in its path. People, horses, vehicles, and buildings were swept away in the sticky tide. The city, once bustling with life and industry, was now a scene of chaos and destruction. Imagine, if you will, the sheer terror of the moment. The ground shaking beneath your feet, the deafening roar of the wave, the air thick with the sweet, cloying smell of molasses. People ran for their lives, but the wave was too fast, too powerful. The city was in the grip of a disaster that was as bizarre as it was deadly. Rescue efforts were immediately launched, but the task was daunting. The molasses, once it had settled, became a thick, sticky trap that hindered rescue operations and made the task of reaching the victims incredibly difficult. The city was in shock, struggling to comprehend the enormity of the disaster. In an instant, the city was drowned in a sea of sticky destruction. The Great Molasses Flood of 1919 was a tragedy that claimed lives, destroyed homes, and left a lasting impact on the city of Boston. But amid the destruction and loss, it also brought about crucial changes in safety regulations, reminding us of the importance of vigilance and preparedness in the face of potential disasters. In the aftermath, the city faced a monumental task. Boston had been brought to its knees by a flood not of water, but of molasses. As the sticky tide receded, the scale of the disaster became apparent. Rescue and recovery efforts were launched, with the people of Boston showing their resilience and unity in the face of adversity. The molasses industry, once a symbol of prosperity, was forever tarnished by the tragedy. The once towering tank, now a symbol of devastation, stood as a grim reminder of the price paid for negligence. This disaster triggered a significant shift in the industry and prompted a thorough review of safety regulations. In the years that followed, these regulations were tightened to prevent such a catastrophe from happening again. The Great Molasses Flood had not only changed the physical landscape of Boston, but also its industrial practices. the Great Molasses Flood left an indelible mark on the city and its people. As we look back on the Great Molasses Flood, we're reminded of the strange and sometimes surreal turns history can take. In the heart of a bustling city, a disaster unfolded that, to this day, stands as a stark reminder of the unforeseen dangers that can lurk in the shadows of industrial growth. It was a disaster that was as unusual as it was tragic, leaving a mark on the city of Boston that lingers to this day. The Great Molasses Flood was more than just an unfortunate accident. It was a consequence of negligence, of a failure to take the necessary precautions in the face of potential danger. The massive molasses tank that towered over the city was a symbol of prosperity, a testament to the thriving industry that fueled Boston's growth. But beneath its imposing facade, it harbored a deadly secret. The tank was poorly constructed, its walls too thin to contain the vast amount of molasses it was designed to hold. Despite clear signs of structural weakness, no action was taken to reinforce the tank or to reduce the amount of molasses it held. This lack of foresight, this disregard for safety, set the stage for the disaster that was to come. On January 15, 1919, the tank finally gave way. A tidal wave of molasses, 25 feet high and moving at a speed of 35 miles per hour, swept through the streets of Boston. Buildings were toppled, people were swept away, and the city was plunged into a state of chaos and confusion. In the aftermath of the flood, the city faced a monumental task of rescue and recovery. Amidst the sticky wreckage, brave men and women worked tirelessly to dig out survivors, to provide aid to those in need, and to clean up the mess left behind by the molasses flood. It was a task that would take weeks to complete, but the spirit of resilience and determination that defined the people of Boston saw them through this challenging time. The Great Molasses Flood had a profound impact on the city of Boston and the molasses industry as a whole. It led to a tightening of safety regulations, a greater emphasis on structural integrity, and a shift in public perception towards industrial hazards. It served as a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the potential dangers of unchecked industrial growth. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Great Molasses Flood is the lessons it taught us. It reminded us of the importance of safety, of the need for vigilance in the face of potential danger. It showed us that even in the midst of prosperity, we must never lose sight of the risks that come with it. The Great Molasses Flood is a part of our history, a chapter in our past that we cannot forget. It is a story of tragedy, of loss, and of resilience in the face of adversity. It is a story that continues to resonate, to serve as a reminder of the lessons we've learned and the progress we've made. So as we reflect on the Great Molasses Flood, let us not forget the lives that were lost, the city that was changed, and the lessons that were learned. Let us remember the importance of safety, of vigilance, and of responsibility. Let us remember the price that was paid for our progress, and let us strive to ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. In the end, the Great Molasses Flood stands as a testament to the power of resilience, to the strength of a city that refused to be broken by tragedy. It is a story that continues to inspire, to educate, and to serve as a reminder of our past. It is a story that we must never forget, a story that we must always remember. So let's remember the Great Molasses Flood. Let's remember the lives lost and the lessons learned. Let's remember the city of Boston, forever marked by this tragic event. And let's remember the importance of safety and vigilance in the face of potential danger. Let's remember and let's learn, so that we may build a safer and more prosperous future. As we bring this journey to a close, let's remember the sweet smell of disaster, the sticky situation that unfolded, the tidal wave of molasses that swept through the streets, and the monumental task of picking up the pieces. Let's remember the Great Molasses Flood, a tragic event that left an indelible mark on our history. But most importantly, let's remember the lives lost and the lessons learned, for these are the true legacy of the Great Molasses Flood. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. We've traveled together through the streets of early 20th century Boston, through the shadows of the looming molasses tank, and into the heart of one of history's most peculiar disasters. We've walked in the shoes of those who witnessed the Great Molasses Flood, felt their fear, their shock, and their sorrow. We've stood amidst the sticky destruction, gazed at the collapsed buildings, the flooded streets, and the chaos that the flood wreaked on the city. And together, we've mourned the lives lost and grappled with the long-term effects of the disaster. We've also delved into the bustling molasses industry that fueled Boston's growth and the massive molasses tank that was a ticking time bomb. We've looked at the safety regulations that were tightened following the disaster and how the molasses industry was forever changed. We've reflected on the lessons learned from this tragic event and the importance of safety and vigilance in the face of industrial hazards. This journey into the past has not been about dwelling on the negative, but about honoring those who lived through this disaster and those who lost their lives. It's about learning from the past to build a safer future. It's about understanding the complexities of our history, the good and the bad, and the sticky situations that have shaped us. As we've explored this unique slice of history, we hope that you've been intrigued, enlightened, and perhaps even a bit surprised. History, after all, is not just about dates and facts. It's about the stories of people, places, and events that have shaped our world. It's about understanding the human experience in all its diversity and complexity. And it's about learning from the past to inform our present and shape our future. We hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have. It's been a pleasure to share this story with you, to delve into the complexities of the molasses industry, the disaster and its aftermath, and the impact it had on Boston and beyond. We're grateful for your time, your attention, and your curiosity. We're committed to bringing you more such captivating content, more journeys into the past, more explorations of history's intriguing corners. If you've enjoyed this video, we'd appreciate it if you could like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot to us, and it helps us to continue our work, to continue sharing these stories with you. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you won't miss our next video. We've got plenty more historical adventures in store for you, plenty more stories to tell. So stay tuned for more captivating content from our channel. We look forward to seeing you on our next journey into the past. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions. Because history is not just about the past, it's about understanding our present and shaping our future. Stay tuned for more captivating content from our channel.